Hey, what up, team? It's Joe Mill here, back with Killer Miller Q. Today, we're going to be putting together another good cook. I got my Lone Star Grill already fired up. You've already seen me put together my turkey for Thanksgiving. Already ate it. Already put together that pot pie. Already ate it. So now we're going to get into what am I actually going to eat for Thanksgiving. We got ribs on deck. Lone Star's already fired up. We got baby back ribs, and I want to do a bit of an experiment. We're going to be going with either no wrap. We're going to be doing a regular wrap with the aluminum foil, and then we also going to be bringing out some butcher paper. We're going to see which one of these come out the best. Hold tight. It's going to be fun. Cut that music and check out the star of the show. You know what time it is. We got some good old-fashioned baby back ribs here that we're going to be working with. Some pork ribs, some pork back ribs. I saw some beautiful striation, as people kind of always ask, what do I look for when I'm buying some ribs or when I'm picking them out? I should tell them first off the price. But with that said, I want to make sure I see a little bit of fat. I'm always looking for some of that beautiful striation and stuff like that I can see in there. I know that's going to make me a good set. So we got 3 racks. And as you might have just heard, we're going to be doing a nice experiment today. We get to find out which ones come out the best, as I wanted something different for my Thanksgiving. Already made my turkey already and came through and did the pot pie with y'all. So I don't want that. We're going to do something different. But that membrane's already taken up off of there. Some of this already halfway cleaned up, just for the essence of time. But actually, when I got these from the Costco 3-pack, they already didn't have no membrane on them. So kudos to them. All I did was kind of clean them up, pat them pretty much dry. Today, I'm going to keep things pretty simple as far as the prep work. I definitely don't want to mess with too much on this meaty side. There wasn't too much that needed to be taken off. There's a couple of these that get kind of flimsy down here at the bone, so I'll probably be cutting a couple of these last little bones off, but I'm going to pretty much leave these as is and intact, and I'm not using a binder. We're just going to let these hang out for a little bit so they'll get a chance to sweat out real well. And today, as far as my rub, let's slide over there and I'm going to grab that for you. So you already know what this is. That's that Killer Miller SPG. Just using one of my old Killer Hogs beef barbecue rub containers. So basically just put this thing together. Let's see if we can see that in the light a little bit. There we go. Get out there. Lots of pepper in there. So one thing that I do like about making my own SPG, you get to control how much salt you put in it and everything else. So normally I go with a blend of about 60 on the pepper, 40 on the salt, and about 10 on the garlic. I cut back just a little bit on my salt just because I didn't want this to be too salty at all, because I'm also going to be coming over the top with some of this Bearded Butcher's Own over there in Ohio. Some of this good Hollywood blend. This is going to add a nice little layer of heat, a little bit of color, and a little bit of flavor on there. And as you kind of look at that ingredients list, like we talked about before, notice you don't see salt towards the front of that list, which lets you know the main ingredients is going to be that cane and brown sugar, that garlic and onion, them spices, and then you got sea salt, followed by paprika, then molasses powder. So one way or another, let me know I'm not going to be too salty, okay? So that's going to be our top layer after we come with a nice basic portion of this good old-fashioned Killer Miller SPG. So let me get this first layer of this SPG on. I'm gonna flip these babies back over so I can get a start on the bone side. I'm gonna let that hang out for a little bit, then I'll hit it again with the other SPG. I'm telling you, it's better when you do it yourself. Probably because I like garlic, and being able to just have that nice fresh granulated garlic in there. You smell it, it sits up nice. Got the nice big bits of that kosher salt in there along with that coarse black pepper. We're just gonna let this kind of hang out for a half a second and get married. And I'm coming right on top with that Hollywood. All right, and there they go after they got some of that Hollywood on there. Nice and covered. Now I'm gonna let these hang out before I do any flipping. There's no binder, no nothing, so I'm just gonna let it go ahead and get a chance to marry in. After about 15 minutes, we'll flip these, do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, now you can see these are sweating in a little bit. Still sitting up nice and pretty. These gonna have a nice, beautiful color on there. I'm about to flip these babies over. I'll give them a little pat just to make sure we stay down, but it's been, like I said, about a little 15 minutes or something. Flip these over. While I didn't put that much salt in that rub, like I said, I went 60% pepper, 40% on the salt, 10% on the garlic. With that said, I used a little bit less than 10% just because I wanted to be a little lighter, knowing I was coming with that little top layer rub, even though it wasn't very heavy in salt. On my meat side, I'm going to go a little lighter on my SPG. And we're going to finish these puppies off. Let me flip these. Pretty. Man, you can smell that garlic. Gotta love it. All right, let's get some of that Hollywood on here. And these puppies is gonna sit up just like this for about 15 more minutes. I ain't wanna put them on with too much time or get them seasoned up too early, because at the end of the day, you can easily oversalt some pork, and I didn't want it to be to the point where, you know, we get to the point we pull all the moisture out or nothing like that, but just enough time for this to sit up, let that penetrate the meat real well, take my time, get my grill up to temp, and now we're about to get these babies on the old Lone Star. We'll be cooking along roughly 225, max 250. We're gonna slow roll these puppies. All right, so it's showtime. We up to temp. Check them out, check them out. You can see we got to take a little bit of time. These sat for a minute. Like I said, no binder. SPG, pretty light on the salt. Finished on top with that Bearded Butcher's Hollywood blend. It looks phenomenal. They got time to bleed in. Like I said, I don't like doing this necessarily overnight or nothing. I don't want to necessarily pull all my little moisture out of my ribs. Bunch them together once you get them over here on this rack. And you know what? I decided not even to touch them, man. So these babies is just as is. I didn't cut off the end bones or nothing. Took out my top rack, so we down here on the bottom. Pretty much what my plan is going to be, I'm probably going to be rotating these about every hour to kind of make sure I get some even cooking. We're going to have one that's going to be staying on the rack the whole time. And then we got one that we're going to go ahead and wrap with the butcher paper. And then we got one that we're going to go ahead and wrap with the aluminum foil. So other than that, everybody going to get treated the exact same. We'll hit them on the back end with a little bit of barbecue sauce, and we'll see what we got. I'll bring you back. Hey team, I wanted to jump in here real quick and let you know thank you for following along on today's cook. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. If you are new to the channel, go to that bottom right corner and make sure that you subscribe. Check out some of the other videos that you might have already missed. And for everybody else that's been here, like always, I appreciate y'all. Let's keep this thing moving. Check out my link tree if you haven't already, and find me in all the other social places I'm at. And let's keep this thing rolling. So we holding on at about an hour. Throwing a log in. So we're gonna let that catch. So we got a little extra smoke. As you can see, we started to think about drying up, but nothing too crazy. I'm not gonna touch them. We will be spritzing, but I don't want to spritz this early because everything ain't settled. What I am gonna do is give these a light rotation, and basically I'm just gonna knock them all down. Take this one over here, take it to the middle, take the middle to the outside, and take the outside all the way back down. And we're gonna basically do it just like that every hour. And at this second hour, I'll probably go ahead and actually get a spritz in with some, I got a little half and half apple cider vinegar and some apple juice. But right now, I'm just gonna give them a rotate, and I'm gonna let them keep on going. Let them keep developing me a little bit of bark, a little bit of color. Starting to dry out a little bit. I'm not too worried. All right, here we go. 2 hours in. Oh yeah, we're getting some good cooking going. We made that one rotation. We've pretty much been holding strong at about 250. Right now I'm a little bit high at about 260 something. So far so strong, looking good, smelling good. Let me get one rotation and we'll give them a nice little spritz. Good little color developing. As far as the spritz, apple cider vinegar, 50-50 with some apple juice. Nothing too crazy. I'm just gonna more or less get a little wetness so we're not too dry up here on top, and definitely hit some of these spots where we start to get some good color on the outside. And then we'll get these babies rotated, and I'm also gonna flip the sides. All right, everybody's rotated. Flipped them around too. Just give them a little spritzing. Gave them a little love. Now let's get this other angle. Man, beautiful color. I'm liking this already. Bring you back in an hour. Dialed in like a clock. 2 1/4. Like I said, 2 1/4 to 250. Hello. Oh yeah, we looking good. We looking good. That is the color I wanted. Look at that crust. I tell you what, man, if you can smell the smells, that's why I tell you, I have thoroughly enjoyed, since I've switched over to making my own SPG, that granulated garlic is doing the damn thing, let me tell you. So we got us a good looking bark. As you can see, I'm about to spritz these babies, and this is our plan. As you know, this is an experimental day. We got one of these racks that's gonna be staying on the rack. We got one of these racks that's gonna be wrapped up in aluminum foil. And we got one of these racks that's gonna be wrapped up in some general butcher paper. So this is what I'm thinking. My biggest one, which looks like to be you, will definitely get wrapped. And the reason my mindset is thinking that is, I wanna make sure that these all roughly get done at about the same time. This one's gonna have the most fat and everything left to render. So I'm thinking this one's gonna probably go ahead and go into the aluminum foil. From there, one of these racks gonna have to stay out. I don't want it necessarily to be my smallest or my skinniest rack. So I'm kind of looking at which one doesn't have as much color versus the other out of these two. And the other one's gonna get butcher paper. So I'm thinking that this one here looks like it's got a little bit more coloring that it could take, because obviously the one that's on the rack is gonna get a little darker. So I'm gonna leave this one out. It'll get a rotate and everything. And we'll see what we can do. And you will get the butcher paper. Let me get these out. I'm about to spritz them real quick with a little bit more of this apple cider vinegar and apple juice mixture. So now you're gonna really see where we at on this color. Watch this color jump out on you. Jump out and say what's up through the camera. Look at that, look at that. Come on now. Nothing but some SBG and some good smoke. I'm using pecan wood too for those that's keeping along. We are at the 3-hour mark. Been rolling between 225 and 250. So nothing too crazy, I'm being nice to them. I hit them with the SPG and then came right over the top with a little bit of that Hollywood from Bearded Butcher. Bam. I'm about to get all of these off of here. When I wrap them up, I'm gonna keep it real simple so that way we can actually get a decent taste and keep everything kind of uniform. All I'm gonna do is give them a good spritz, wrap it up, and they're coming right back on here. And then we're gonna wet down the one that's gonna stay. Hold tight. All right, we on the inside. Here goes subject number 1. We got this double lined of some of this heavy duty aluminum foil, nothing too crazy. I'm gonna give it a good spritzing. I already spritzed the aluminum foil just a little bit so it's nice and wet. And now we're just gonna hit it nice and good. Got it nice and moist. And now we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up and it's ready to go. It's going meat side down, back on the smoker. Rack number 2. All right, we in the butcher paper now. I like doing double on both the butcher paper and the aluminum foil. Helps everything kind of hold in there nice and tight. And you can also not have to worry too much about the shiners maybe coming through and poking your wrap, or and then you lose all your moisture out of there. So I already got the butcher paper wet, as you can see. Now I'm about to go ahead and give this a spritz. Face side down, hit the other side, wrap it up. And the final rack, which I have nothing to do to it other than spritz it. This is the one that's gonna be directly on the rack. It's still got a little bit of color to get, as you can kind of see in this area, where I still want it to be a little bit more uniform dark. So I feel like this would be a good one to go ahead and take the last bit of that punishment out there on the rack. So all I'm doing is spritzing this one down, and we're going right back out to the pit. Alright, so they back on here. We still rolling at the same temperature. I know normally when I wrap, I would go ahead and kick it up a little bit, but since one of these aren't going to be wrapped, I do want to keep this down so I don't kill it at 225 more or less. Like I said, no more than 250. So this is what I did. Obviously, you see we were going up and down. I kind of gave it a rotation. My biggest rack is the one that I put into the aluminum foil. My mindset or my thought process is more fat that needs to get rendered. That one might take a little bit longer. That one's towards the back of my grill where it's a little bit warmer. I got the one that was the middle size rack that actually had more color than this one here. That's the one that we did in the butcher paper. I got that sitting there in the middle, and then up front and center, you already know. This is the one that's going on the rack the whole time. I wanted to kind of get you out here so you can see some of that natural light and kind of what we're looking like for the color in the bark. A color that I already like, and really I don't want it to get too much darker, but naturally being that it's about to stay on this rack for another hour plus, it's going to get a little darker. But I also want to try to keep these results as even as possible so that I can actually try to keep this scientific for what it might be. So this is what we're going to do. I'm actually going to flip this upside down. I'm not worried, my bark is staying, but what I do want to do is preserve this color and give the other side some even cooking, just like these are both meat side down. I'm going to put this one meat side down. I'm going to spritz the top really well, and then we're going to let these go ahead and hang out. I'll bring you back in an hour. We'll get a little bit of sauce on these babies, and then you know what time it is. And that's what that looks like on the other side. You can see that it's not quite as dark, so I got a little room to work. I'll let it play. I've got to be super nice when we take these up off of here so we don't fall apart, but I doubt it's going to get that tender, being that it's going to be on the rack, but it'll give a little time for that meat side to not get so much beat up from the color, as well as take a little bit of time to tender on up. Alright, so while that's pretty much coming together, we're going to put together a quick little sauce, nothing too crazy. I was going to come with a little bit of heat, and my little baby quickly reminded me that she planned on eating some of these too, so I'm going to keep these pretty basic. Sweet baby rays, add a little bit of honey, mix it all together in a bowl, and I'm just going to let this kind of hang out so it can get up to room temperature and everything when we go ahead and get everything slathered up. And then as far as the honey, we're not going to add that much into it. It's just going to give it a nice bit of color. That should do well. And it'll give it a nice bit of sheen, and it'll kind of smooth everything out. It done got laid out here, folks. It done got laid out here, warming that up a little bit. It's been pretty much sitting out, holding strong at my temps. Where we at? We another hour in. Pretty. See, I like how the top looks. We're gonna get these over nice and easy. So this is basically what I'm gonna do. Bring this over. And I'll let you see me mess one all up. And then I'll knock out the rest of them. A good little bit of color that I see. You can see that everything ain't necessarily rubbing away on me, so that's good. Let you know that bark is nice and set. I don't need to put too much. My temperatures aren't that high. Keep in mind, you're putting on all of this honey and all this good sugar and stuff. You don't want to mess around and just burn your ribs up. Look at this color already. I can't wait to turn these babies over. I'm glad I went ahead and did the flip on these. Get that meat side a break. Got a little color on the back side. Got some good even cooking that we is getting going. Now we're just gonna hit them with a little bit of this sauce. It's that sweet baby rays. Now just kind of cut it with a little bit of that honey. Give it a nice little bit of sheen. Nice little bit of color. I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up because it's gonna take a second. I'll let you see what this look like when I'm all done. I like to kind of just dab it on there, and then we're gonna let it tack up. Hold up. Woohoo! Let's get this baby flipped over. There it is. And before I let you get a peek at it, before I actually go ahead and put this sauce on it, look at this beautiful color. Made me literally just dripped out my mouth. I was gonna say that's that flip game. Preserve that color, even cooking. Gave a little bit of that nice warmth onto the bone side. And now we're gonna go ahead and make this baby painted up like Picasso. And once we get all of this oiled up, shined up, that ain't gonna take nothing but about 15 minutes or something. And I get him up off of here. Let me finish it up. Look at that. One down. Wee. Next, here go the first looks coming up out the butcher paper. I like it. Obviously, you can see the bones aren't bleeding through, so I should be able to still have me a little bit of snap on these, but they should be good. But color-wise, I like it. Let's get these sauced, get them on. One side done. I'm putting these right back in the same spot they was, so that way it'll help me with the remembering which was which. Let me flip these on the rack and get them bones side next to these beauties right here. There's the top of that second rib before I get to putting all that sauce on it. It looks pretty good too. It's got a nice uniform color all over that one, nice and pretty. That is the butcher paper. Contestant number 2. I say, well, that bark ain't going nowhere. You see all them herbs and spices on there, baby. Ain't nothing but that SPG sitting on there nice and strong. Followed up by that Hollywood rub. All right. There go 2 down. Bing, bing. So far, looking pretty similar to me. Let's get him out. All right, initial impressions. Instantly, you can see them bones shining through, so I know this is going to probably be my most tender rack, which is no surprise being that it's over here on this aluminum foil. Make sure I be extra nice taking these up out of here so they don't fall apart. And definitely, you can see a decent amount of juices down here at the bottom, because remember, all we did was spritz them and put them in. So that's all pretty much the fat that then kind of came up out of them. But this was the biggest rack as well, but definitely looking like they're going to be easily the most tender. Let's get them wet. All right, now let's go ahead and get these babies flipped. Woo-wee. All right, we eased him up out of there. Back here on the back wall, there go the last homie. Tenderoni, definitely a lot of juice that came up out of there. But they still intact though, so they didn't fall all apart, so we should be good. Let's get them wet. All right, here we go. We brought them in. Here is contestant number 1. Almost, maybe I shouldn't even tell you which is which. No, we got to tell you which is which. This one here is on the rack the whole way. They had about a minute to relax a little bit too. This one here is going to be with the butcher paper. And then this one here on the back was the aluminum foil. All of them look pretty good. They all smell great. All in all, we took probably roughly about 4.5 hours. 3 hours on the rack, an hour for the 2 that were wrapped up. And all 3 of them were meat side down. And then back out there for another 20 minutes or so. And then a few minutes to kind of rest. At the very end, after we got some sauce on. Let's break into them. Alright, so I went ahead and chopped them all up. As you can see, I left some and some bigger bones, some 2 bones over there, and then I broke down to some single bones. So I tell you what, I guess I can talk quickly initial impressions just as I was cutting through. So I got my one right here. This was actually the one that was all in aluminum foil. Definitely, I thought this felt pretty tender overall. And overall, I noticed that it had less of a bark than some of the other ones. With that said, smoke ring and stuff, I mean, you've seen it saturated through pretty hardcore, so mean smoke ring on here. Get some of this middle pieces out. Cooked and rendered pretty well. Good looking color. Excuse me. A little bit of that pepper got in the back of my throat. All right, so we got this middle one, which I got a feeling this is going to be what I'm going to like. This is probably the best of both worlds. This was the one that was in the butcher paper. Again, we got a mean smoke ring going on. We got good looking bark. Good and rendered. And again, I did some doubles. And this one I've been eyeballing. This is probably going to be the one I'm going to taste right here. Look at that. Nice, pretty one. My dog even smelled that. So that one I'm going to sit over there. That one's going to be me. And I'll find me one over here. I might get one of these end pieces. Matter of fact, I will. End piece over there, which is kind of cheating. And then we got the one that was on the rack the whole time. You can see it's got a little bit more of the charred look to it. And tell you what, this one I also think is going to be one that I'm going to like. It should have the most smoke It rendered out pretty well. I like the idea that we flipped it on his face along with all the rest of them, and now we're out, and I was able to hold. And with that one, I might take something like this one here. Nice, pretty one. And we're gonna put these to the side. So we got our one on the rack, we got our one with the butcher paper, and our one right there with the aluminum foil. Let me flip this around. So I guess if I'm gonna do appearance, that's tough. I mean, I think they all look similar. However, least amount of bark, and you might not have the best of lighting, was actually here. And like I said, the middle I think was a pretty middle ground. And this one definitely has more of the bark and more of the overall look. If I had to do, I guess, an initial look through, and which one would I pick? Give me the middle. Best of both worlds. I feel like it looked like it had rendered and everything pretty well too. I almost want to go with these, surprisingly though. And I didn't even put on as much sauce, but I feel like they came out pretty good. But let me know down in the comments, which one out of the three would you go with as far as appearance? And we're going to get over to the taste. All right, there they are, the contestants on the rack. Butcher paper. And then this one right here is your aluminum foil. Everybody looking nice and charred. Everybody had the same process. 4.5 hours roughly. Pecan smoke, 250, 225. Salt, pepper, and garlic. And a little bit of that Bearded Butcher's Hollywood rub. Let's taste it. Hey, let me tell you. After doing all them thumbnails and all that crazy stuff, I am more than ready to eat. We're going to keep this thing short. Happy Thanksgiving to all of y'all out there. It's been a beautiful year, and I appreciate all of y'all that's been following along and randomly and always keeping up with me, commenting and all that good stuff. All my partners over there with Black Smoke Barbecue, all my family, and everybody else. Let's jump into this thing and see what we got. You already checked it out, see what we're looking like, so I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to start picking up some of this meat, and I'll let you know what my first thoughts are. So the first one that we're looking at right here, make sure we can see it a little bit. Yes, yes. This is the one that was on the rack the whole time. Beautiful bite. Pretty tender. I tell you what, that SPG and that Hollywood ain't gonna hurt nothing. This tastes nice and natural. Got a nice porky flavor. This tastes great. Still pretty juicy too. You know, if you can see all that moisture in there. You can definitely see it on my hands. We got a little something, something. Number two. I tell you what, these cooked up real nice. Which is why I think I said that I thought that this might be the one that I might like the most. This is the one in the butcher paper, which I've never did butcher paper before. Cheers. Obviously, different pieces, so you never can tell. We try to be as scientific as we could, at least making sure we did all the same steps and rotating it and everything else. This one bites better. Nice and uniform. Nice and pretty. The outside of it caramelized up a little bit. I definitely like the way that these were, or the way that these are as far as the flavor. And just the way, I mean, I just tear off of there. The way that these is kind of like bound together, but it's an easy bite, real rendered. Butcher paper. I liking these. I definitely have to say I like the butcher paper better than just on the rack the whole time. Last one. This little corner piece, which might be cheating since I brought the only corner piece to the table, but it was the one I wanted. Pitmaster privilege, you get what you want for a change, right? This is the one where we actually had them wrapped in the butcher or the aluminum foil. They definitely tender. You see, I just pulled that away. Like break me off pieces. Enough where I can break it off of the bone, But with that said, it ain't falling apart in my hands. So that's perfect for about what I wanted. These are the least smokiest. They taste great, but they don't have as much smoke as the first two. The first one, which makes sense, the one on the rack, that one had the most smoke. But texture-wise, the one on the rack couldn't compare to the butcher paper or the aluminum foil. Which again, I know makes sense. It almost seems like that would have been common sense. I probably would have almost guessed that. Overall, though, hold on. Yeah. From now on, Killer Miller gonna start rapping in that butcher paper. I like these. Overall, I'm sure it's the fact, just like when I do my brisket or whatever, it lets it breathe. It kept the bark a little bit. It allowed them to render. And overall, texture-wise, I just really like the way these came together. All of them is slamming. They all going into a bowl after the night, so we ain't gonna know what's what. And I guarantee you they won't last long. I appreciate y'all, like always, following through, or coming through and following me. Joe Mill here with Killer Miller Q. Until the next time, peace.
Alright, it's time to put these babies up, and before I do, I told you I like the ones with the butcher paper, and I was close too with these ones on the rack. Wifey liked the ones on the rack, she liked that char and a little bit that you got from that, and liked the way that the tenderness came out of those as well. So definitely gonna be doing that again between the two. Maybe we're gonna go ahead and kick that aluminum foil to the curb.